I'm Aaron,
And I'm Eric.
and this is the new norm. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of The New Norm. And today we're going to be talking about kind of an elephant in the room, I think, for me at least. Um, there's a lot more time these days for drinking. And I think that a lot of us are getting invited to a lot of Zoom happy hours, a lot of hangouts with friends online that are involving drinking. And I know for me, I was starting to feel like maybe it was getting a little tough to not be drinking on a given day. So I wanted to talk with Eric a little bit today about how we're approaching sort of how much we're drinking these days. So Eric, I guess I'll hand it to you first. How are you approaching this whole topic?
It's funny. It's a great question and it's an incredible topic. I started a couple of weeks ago doing a Wednesday happy hour online. It was a Zoom happy hour. We call it it's 5 o'clock somewhere. And what I found is 5 o'clock somewhere means it's also 2 o'clock somewhere else. And there's a lot of folks that were joining me for this 2 o'clock happy hour. And I found that it wasn't just me hosting these, it was other folks as well. Now, I'm not a big drinker, but I will say over the course of the last month, I've found myself joining those happy hours. I found myself drinking during the happy hours, finding time with my wife at the end of a long day to share a bottle of wine. And for me, I'm starting to recognize it's not a problem, but there's other things that I need to fill that time with that for me are healthier outlets. So that's probably my thought on the matter. What about you, Aaron?
Yeah, I mean, my family's one that has never shied away from a glass of wine with dinner, and so it's not something that's new or something that's different. I will say that for me, my biggest concern is, I can see at the end of a day myself finishing that last meeting and going right into the kitchen with my wife and saying, "Oh, we need a drink," right? And my concern is that drinking becomes, or inebriation becomes, how I give myself downtime. That there's so much stress and there's so many things going on that I'm not having a drink because I want one. I'm having a drink because I feel like I need one. And that's where I get concerned for myself a little bit. Again, not from a will I be able to stop, but from a isn't there a better way that I could be finding the peace or the relaxation that I need, something that doesn't rely on drinking. And I run from time to time, but I can't do that as much these days. I feel like we've watched every episode of Great British Baking Show 6 times now, so that's kind of played out. And yeah, it just becomes that odd default that we go back to. And I think a lot about my friends who can't drink, and for whatever reason, and the fact that so much of the online social hanging out has sort of started focusing on that drinking. How about yourself? What are sort of the practical day-to-day implications that you've noticed?
Yeah, I think the practical day to day is I'm not as present to my family, so I personally need to find a different outlet. I'm not as inclined to join these happy hours. Candidly, and maybe a different episode, having 30 to 40 people
Mm-hmm.
on a Zoom call, practically, it's a really difficult task anyway. So I want to have some of those more intimate one-on-one type Zoom meetings or phone calls or FaceTimes. I think for me, the better use of downtime, I do feel a bit like I've turned into my parents. After dinner, when I was a kid, my folks would look at us and say, "Okay, we're gonna go for a walk.
Yeah,
You guys do the dishes." And my wife
yeah.
and I have found to fill the void of drinking or other things, continuing to eat, eating dessert, that we have filled that time with. We've gone for a walk every night, and that's
Okay.
been really meaningful for us. And we also come home to a clean house.
Right.
What are you doing, or what are some of the alternatives that you find are healthier alternatives that you could fill that time with?
Yeah, our kid is 6, and so we could ask her to do the dishes, but I'm not sure what the results would be. But yeah, we've been going on a lot of walks. We've been hanging out in our backyard and trying to fly a kite. And we have a tiny backyard. The idea of flying a kite back there is ridiculous, but we can run around in circles with our 6-year-old and pretend like we're trying. Things like that I've found that do allow me to be more present with the family. We've been doing lots of projects. We've been playing with puzzles and building sets and things of that nature. And again, it's not to say that that always has to be in place of having a drink. I think for me, it's if I'm going to be drinking while I'm doing this, am I doing it because it adds something to the experience, or am I doing it because it's the only way that I can shut my brain off from all the stress or the work or all the things that I could be doing back in the house to try to deal with all of the challenges that I face in a day. And that's really kind of what it comes down to, is making sure that I'm making the choice intentionally.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So anyways, I think it's a very personal topic for everyone, and certainly nothing that we're going to say is going to apply to everyone, maybe not even to anybody else but ourselves. So, we wanted to put this out there as a question to the community about how folks are thinking about this and addressing this. What are some of the ways that folks are enjoying drinking, not enjoying drinking, and dealing with just kind of the open drinking culture that is available to us in all these happy hours and Zoom calls. So leave comments, reach out to us individually. We know this can kind of be tough to talk about, but we'd love to just have that conversation with all of you. Until the next time, I'm Aaron.
And I'm Eric.
And this is The New Norm.